Are you recording?
Yeah. Everything bothers him.
He's unbothered.
He calls it unbothered, but that's what's cute because everything bothers him. He's bothered. I'm a botherina.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Unbothered by Ty Rivera. Today, we're not in Casa de Bijou. I'm not in Casa de Bijou. My friends over at the Virtual Vegas Studio, or the Vegas Studio on Facebook, said you got to get out of your kitchen, girl. You got to get out of your dining room, and you got to do this someplace that's a little more professional. And I'd say, knowing my dining room, this is a lot more professional. That's what I would say. But what do I know? I'm just a guy that shoots shit in his dining room. But there's bigger matters to talk about today. Cardi B had an interview with Joe Biden. Joe Biden had an interview with Cardi B. And I say it that way because I'm not sure exactly what was going on. I know I saw it. I know I watched it in its entirety. But I can't say I know what was going on. I don't blame them in some ways because I've done Zoom shows and Zoom interviews, and the timing on those can be off. So in some ways it's that, and then there's the fact that Joe Biden's dealing with dementia, but nobody wants to talk about that.
Joe Biden's husband, Joe Biden.
So we won't talk about that, but I will say that I think it played a little bit of a factor. Then there's the fact that no politician wants to talk about the things that are really going on right now. And that's the reason that we can't trust Biden, Trump. You can't trust anybody. You just vote for who you think lines up with what you need best. That's what you need to do. Because really, if you're looking to these people to answer the questions that we all want the answer to, it's not going to happen. Like, at a point, Cardi B asked Joe Biden if he had any questions for her.
So, Joe, I heard you got some questions for me.
And he did not even address her wet-ass pussy. He didn't even ask her what WAP stood for or why they pronounce it WAP when clearly it should be WAP. I've been saying WAP all along because it's wet ass pussy. That makes the W, the and the pussy. So when it comes to talking about her wet ass pussy, he should have asked her what that booty do. No such question. Didn't even address her wet ass pussy or what makes her pussy so wet. I don't think he really cares about women's issues, if you ask me, because those are the things you'd want to know if you really cared about what women care about. Women aren't worried about abortion right now. They're at step one, wet-ass pussy. And Cardi B did give some tips earlier today to the young ladies on how they could possibly help have a non-dehydrated pussy. But I don't know. I'm tired of everybody and everything, you know? I'm very honest about that. So sorry if I don't take anything seriously, but I don't feel like anybody's taking anything seriously right now. Like, everybody pretends the world is on fire. You know, everybody acts like this is such a serious time right now. The most important time in our history. But then they concern themselves with Cardi B's video, the WAP video, WAP as some of you would say, which I really, because nobody says wet ass pussy. Now then you could say WAP. WAP is W-O-P. We've all agreed on that for years. A WAP babaluba, a WAP bamboo. Like, it's W-O-P. You down with W-O-P? You know me? Anyway, on Saturday, I'm going to throw this out there just so you guys know. Saturday, I did 2 hits of at the same time. I don't usually get down like that, but I felt like I needed to go inside. So if I seem a little bit off, it's if I seem a little bit on, it's the either way, blame it on the So that's about what my singing career is going to be. And yeah, I'm tired of everybody and everything. Like, people are a little bit upset with me because I said that postal workers have always been shitty at their jobs. So I think we need to defund and reimagine the post office. And people are mad about that, but have you guys been in a post office? I mean, like, they're like the DMV. The DMV could get defunded as far as I go. Like, a lot of these services that people are so protective of in some cases, I feel like, yeah, can't we, if we're going to work on the police, which I agree that the police do need some restructuring, but people aren't realistic in their ask on that. And so I don't really take people seriously on that either. Like, if you start off with kind of a bullshit premise or being a little bit too pie in the sky, I don't really pay attention to you. You know, there's like, one of the 48 laws of power is like how you basically don't try to make too much change at once. I can't remember what number it is. I read the book a long time ago. We all know I'm not the best reader. I also have a horrible memory. But look it up. Google it. We all have Google. There's one of the laws that's like, don't try to change too much at once is basically what it is, And so that's where people are too stupid to me. And then sometimes it's like, as much as people talk about science and numbers and stuff like that, then when you tell them the actual numbers, they get mad at you and act like you're being racist. And I agree it is a problem, and I agree it is a serious problem, and I agree that it really shouldn't happen at all. But at the same time, when people are willing to forget about other things and act like they completely don't exist, or like, the numbers aren't what they are or haven't been what they have been, then I get like, okay, well now you're again going to bullshit premises and you're not really coming at it in a way where I as a logical person can be like, okay, I get you, I see your point, this is the exact course of action that should be taken, you are correct. And also, I hate that people are so inflexible on the things that they want, I mean, like, if you say that your point is just for black people not to get killed by the police, then I can get that, but then when you get a little bit too crazy and act like police are supposed to be willing to turn a blind eye when black people do things that are illegal, like a lot of these assaults we're seeing on social media, where even if somebody says something racist, yeah, I agree, they shouldn't be saying things that are racist. And I also agree that there should be some type of punishment for that. But for the punishment to be physical assault, and then the police supposed to not supposed to be able to do anything about it, that doesn't really make sense to me. Because then we're getting into the territory of like, well, how far can somebody go because somebody says something racist to them? And then I know some people would come at me and be like, Ty, well, how would you feel if somebody said something derogatory about gay people? That's always the way people go with it, And like my thing is, you think in my entire life nobody has ever said anything derogatory about gay people or me specifically in my presence? I mean, that's kind of what I'm built off of. I've had a lot of unjust things happen to me because I'm gay and also because I'm brown and I grew up in Arizona, and it is what it is, but I couldn't assault every person that's ever done anything to me and get away with it. Technically, when I was younger, I really would have been screwed because of the way that things worked. I do a story in my act that's 100% true, where I talk about the time I got kicked out of a Denny's because I was supposedly making other people uncomfortable because I was gay. And the reason they knew I was gay was because I'd been seated or, been shown where I would be sitting. I was by myself. It was like 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock, something like that. And I'm in this Denny's in West Phoenix. And, the server puts my menu down. I'm like, I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, and then I'll come back and order. And as I'm on my way to the bathroom, a table full of young Latinos, probably Mexican-American, that would be my guess. We were in Arizona. The girl at the table, one of the girls at the table, looks at me and she says, he's gay. And so I look at them and give them the, because, I'm living my life, living my best life. And went to the bathroom. And I was expecting someone to follow me in the bathroom and some kind of assault to happen. I don't think the person that they thought was going to get assaulted was going to get assaulted if I know me and how drunk I was that night. But I expected something to happen in the bathroom. Nothing happens in the bathroom. Nobody comes in after me. So then I come out, and there's a man sitting at my table, and he's got a little Denny's name tag, so I know he has to work for Denny's. Because who else is going to wear a Denny's name tag, you guys? Keep up with the story, please. I don't have time to humor you guys like this. But I get back to my table, and the man is sitting there with his little badge on, and he tells me that I'm being asked to leave, that he's asking me to leave because I'm obviously gay and I'm not making any effort to hide that, and that people are uncomfortable. The worst part about this story is the manager sitting across from me is clearly a himself, but apparently the difference between me and him is that he doesn't say it. But he's more flamey than I am. So I'm being asked to leave this Denny's, and there's a part of me that wanted to drive at the time I drove a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and I just wanted to drive that through the fucking Denny's because I had just been kicked out of the Denny's. But I had no choice but to leave because society wasn't on my side back in that time. So I definitely do understand what it feels like. I've done different stories about my interactions with the police and trans friends I had, like being with them, like with my own eyes witnessing, and even at points standing up to the police because they were not treating my friends with respect. And it's like, when it comes to the police, they never had any, which I think this is a big thing with the police and should be one of the things people should ask for, is that the police be trained and actually people be checking on their body cams to make sure that they're treating people with respect. Because in a lot of these cases, when it comes to the police, if they would just start off with respecting people, then they'd end up getting a better result themselves. And then people in turn would not necessarily be as hair trigger or as aggressive towards them, and then we could avoid a lot of that stuff. So in my opinion, rather than some of the bigger things that people are talking about where they're like, let's just get rid of them altogether, maybe something a little more logical might be more helpful, and be like, hey, maybe we need to look at this more almost like a customer service position. And I know it can't always be 100%, but if at least people are checking the body cams and being like, okay, how are you addressing people throughout the day? Because I guarantee you the police that treat people like shit are treating people like shit all day. So if you were to just scan their body cam footage and be like, okay, what's this looking like? And yeah, that would take a bit more effort, but I think that probably having somebody in charge of that would cost less, even if you did it on a per hour basis for the person that had to review the footage, would cost less than what the police are having to pay out in these lawsuits that they end up having to pay out, or some of that that's happening. And maybe I'm just dumb, maybe I have my own pie in the sky idea of the way that things should work or the way that things can work. But the difference between me and the average person is I will actually entertain the fact that I am dumb. I will actually be like, okay, maybe I am a little bit dumb. The average person, you guys have Facebook, the average person is like, says things like they're the smartest person in the world and everybody else is just dumb. And how do I know? Because I'm always the dumb one. I'm the one that these people are yelling at on social media when they get mad, because apparently I don't see things the same way that everybody else sees them. But to me it's like, is this not a flattering shot? Is that better? Let's try that, you guys. But anyway, to me, people online are dumb, and I am spending less and less time online. And if you notice, from last week when I said I was going to do this to this week, I really have switched up the way that I've been doing things. Like, I'm on social media a lot less. And it's because I don't like the toxicity of it all. And like, I've admitted before, like at a point I was a part of that. I was like trolling at different points, but I was never like obsessed with anything. I always had a life outside of all that stuff. So I'd be doing my stuff and at the gym and like doing everything that I need to do the way that I need to do it. I never let anything when it comes to online take over my life, and I never understood like the concept of cyberbullying. Like, that's something I've never done. I've never been one to actually cyberbully anybody. There were times I had to go online and clear things up, because that's the way this podcast actually started, was that there was a point where a lot of people were saying a lot of things about me that were untrue, and I decided to create a podcast just to clear that up for everybody at once, and people could listen to it. And then, my life started to get a little more chill, and I moved back to Phoenix for a while, and then I came to Vegas, and I kind of stopped doing the podcast for a while because things weren't... There were some things that were happening that were too personal to actually talk about, and I mean, like, I did my best to talk about them. But when I was going through my breakup with my fiance, that was one thing that I felt like was better if I handled it like on my own. So I did an episode just to let everybody know about the breakup and actually put the story out there, because again, that's a situation where things were being misrepresented. But then I just didn't want to record any podcasts, because I felt like there's no way I'm going to be able to navigate around this when it's such a big part of my life. But, when it comes to cyberbullying and stuff like that, I don't really fully get that concept, because when people say anything I don't like, or something that's a personal attack, if I just feel like, it's unproductive, then I just block right away. I don't even think twice about it. Like, earlier today I let something stand because I did this story. There's this guy that I have been hanging out with for the last 2 days. And I met him on Grindr. I'm just going to keep it real with you guys. I don't want to tell you guys a story and make it seem like, oh, we met at whatever. Like, we're in a shutdown. I met him on Grindr technically before the shutdown even started. We continue to chat every once in a while. Fucked a couple times, if we're going to be honest about it. And then at some point, because my rule is that if you're not a good fuck, I don't want to take you on a date. If we haven't fucked, I'm not taking you on a date. That's just the way I work. And other people can be like, well, I prefer to get to know somebody. Well, you get to know all the people you want to. I want to know what that booty do. I'm what Joe Biden should have been. I want to know what that booty do is what I want to know. And then after that, we can enjoy a steak and a salad together, which is what I made us for dinner, because I suggested we hang out, but I don't really like the idea of going to a restaurant right now, because like when I've gone to restaurants with friends, it's been cool or whatever, but different people are different ways about the way that they handle what's going on with COVID and stuff like that. So some people are super mask militant and some people are more chill, and I'm willing to do whatever. But if it's like a date situation and we've already fucked, I feel like come over to my place and I'll make you some dinner. And it's not like I'm gonna be doing this with everybody. I just happen to like this guy's energy for whatever reason. And like I said, we've hooked up several times and I haven't gotten bored with having sex with him. So that's always a plus, because I've told you guys that. I realize that I'm a phrasexual. I identify as a phrasexual now, which is a person that loses interest as they get to know somebody. But, we hung out for 2 days, and I didn't lose interest, actually. I enjoyed hanging out with him. But what happened last night, and what I'm trying to get to with my Twitter point, you guys see how long I take to get to a point? This is what my family deals with and the people closest to me. So you're welcome for this peek behind the scenes. This is what it's like when I don't write, because I never write for my podcast. But anyway, what happened was last night I took him for the guy that I'm hanging out with. I took him for a walkie-walkie with Snoopy Bijou, which, me and little Bijou go for our nightly walk. The night before, because he was over and he was like new company, I didn't want to take him on the whole walk with Bijou, so we skipped the walk and I just took her to go potty. But we went on the walk last night, and as we're getting back to my place, this group of guys, there's like 3 guys, they walk by us, and one of the guys says, are you guys father and son? Because this guy is Filipino, and I look Filipino. And so the guy says, are you guys father and son? And then I just say no. I wasn't particularly offended. I don't care, but so I say no, and then the guy that I'm hanging out with says, well, I did call you daddy like 3 times today. And that made me laugh. And so I shared that, posted that on my Facebook and my Twitter. And, for the most part, people were laughing about it. It got good reactions. And then somebody hit me up and said I was a hack and that's a whatever premise. And it was like, one, that was my actual life, so it wasn't, like something that I just made up and was like, oh, let me put this on Facebook or Twitter. When I say somebody says something or something just happened to me on my social media, I have no reason to lie. This is my actual life. It's as weird as people would think it is. And so I just share things that happen to me that are random. So I shared that, and then somebody called me a hack and said something else. And then, there was a moment where I thought to respond to them and be like, tell them basically what I told you guys that was my actual life. And then I clicked on their profile and they had 3 followers, and my thinking on that is if nobody else on the internet is paying attention to you, I'm not going to be the one to break that streak. So let me just pretend like you didn't even say anything to me, and then if you hit me up again, I'll just block you. Like a couple weeks back, I don't remember, it was something to do with LGBT, and a bunch of people started hitting me up, and all the unproductive ones just got blocked right away. I'm telling you, I feel like I was Chrissy Teigen for a day because, and then here's another thing that happened the other night. The other night, this guy got mad at me because I could go into the story, but it's just long, and it's about Jeffree Star, and most of you don't pay attention to Jeffree Star or know Jeffree Star, and my leg looks really sexy right there, but never mind that. But you guys probably don't know Jeffree Star, don't pay attention. Anyway, this guy had responded to Jeffree Star basically wanting money, and then I said something catty, which was to me funny, and not many other people though. It got like 3 likes on Facebook or on Twitter was where I was on, 3 or 4 likes. So it wasn't terribly popular what I said. It didn't catch on like wildfire, but I didn't put it out there to go viral. I just thought it was something funny to say to somebody. A little bit insensitive, but funny. You know what I mean? It was actually funny to me. And so I responded with that, and then, God damn it, I forgot where I was going with that story, you know? So anyway, my whole point of all this is I don't pay attention to social media or take it as seriously as most people would. Maybe one day I'll remember the ending of that story. Maybe I won't. Maybe it wasn't that interesting of a story, and that was God's way of saying, let's just be out of that story. How about you stop babbling? I recently heard that different people have different opinions of what's going on as far as my relationships and my interactions with my own friends, which is always weird to me, you know, when people have opinions about that, because it's like, you don't know how close I am with my friends. Like, for me, my friends and people I hang out with are like my actual family. So when I hear somebody say, like, you know, hey, I heard Ty Rivera and his friends are like this, or Ty Rivera's relationships with his friends are like this, I'm always like, how would you know? Because you don't know me. You know, like, you don't know me. Like, if you knew anything about the way my friends work out, like, nobody treats me like I'm Ty Rivera. You know, all of my friends treat me like their friend. You know, like, I'm one of the friends that you hit up when I'm on my way to your party and you need ice. You know what I mean? Or you realize that you forgot your keys somewhere and maybe I can get them to you, or like there's something I can do I'm an actual friend like that. And also, my friends are very honest with me. Like, I wish I had the luxury of, well, I don't, because I would change my life to that if I really did, but I use the expression still, I wish I had the luxury of having people around me that were yes men and just did whatever I wanted and always told me what I wanted to hear, you know. And that's the reason my social media is the way it is because I can't have that in real life. I'm going to have it in social media, you know. So that's why I'll block people that say negative things or things that I don't find productive. I'm just like, done with that. Don't have to deal with that in my social media life, because I have to deal with that in my regular life, you know. People are a little too honest with me, and I don't always feel like having that on social media too. So I keep people honest with me in real life and lying to me on social media. That's the way it works. People tell me how great I am on social media. I am dear leader. It is North Korea, and I am Kim Jong-un. That's right. Kim Jong-un. What else is going on lately? People on social media acting like Donald Trump invented racism and being mean to each other. Stop with that. Again, we're dealing with the bullshit premise here. Like, you're expecting me to vote for Joe Biden because you say that Donald Trump is the reason the country is the way it is. And no, he's not. Just like Obama isn't the reason the way the country is the way it is. The country is the way it is because we are flawed people. We are flawed human beings. And we are going in leaps and bounds. We are jumping ahead in leaps and bounds, becoming better people. It's all starting to work out, in case you haven't noticed. Yeah, it feels a little rough, but it's always rough. It's like they say, that saying, the darkest hour is just before dawn. You know, like, we're headed towards the light, and that light might be a meteor coming straight at the earth to kill us all. But nonetheless, we are headed towards the light. So why is everybody so down about everything and acting like 4 more years of Donald Trump is just going to kill us? He hasn't turned out to be anything you said he was going to be. Like, that just bears out in the facts. Like, you know, when they're like, you know, oh, he's just like Hitler. Well, nothing Hitler-like has really happened other than a logo that people say that reminded them of, the Nazis. And I admit the logo was similar, but at the same time, it's a good-looking logo. I mean, like, one of these days on Unbothered, you're going to see me wearing the America First shirt because I actually like the shirt. I like the design. And that's what the person's job is to design the shirt, was to make it so that people would want to wear it. That's one thing. And the other thing that's helpful is a little more talking about the person that you're creating the design for. Like, that's what a logo maker or a person that designs anything like that is supposed to be doing. They're supposed to get you a little bit of buzz and people talking about you. That's how you sell merch. And merch is a part of how you make money. So, if you think that Donald Trump isn't out whoring himself to make some money so that he can do everything he has to do to pay for this fucking campaign that are we in the middle of it? We're towards, where are we? We're at the beginning. No, we're not at the beginning of it. I would say we're in the middle of it. But anyway, I mean, like, it's effective marketing. And, like, you fucking goons are dumb enough to talk about it. So as long as you're talking about it, I think it's a good thing because that's what it's supposed to be. Like, when it comes to Joe Biden, bland and boring. There's nothing exciting happening. Like, he did the interview with Cardi B, like I mentioned, and he wasn't particularly good in it. Technically, she did a lot of the talking, and I'm not being biased here. Like, Cardi B, I don't know why she was even interviewing Joe Biden, why she got that opportunity. But then maybe I kind of do because, I've dated a lot of really smart guys. Like, some people would say that Cardi B is dumb or whatever, but I've dated a lot of really smart guys. And because, like I've already admitted, I'm a little bit dumb. I have this way of breaking down what it is they're talking about and putting it in its simplest form. And, like, it makes it inarguable because it's just like, sometimes when you come at it with kind of a dumb perspective, there's no arguing with it because it's just like, well, that did break it down to just it took all the big words out of it, all the big idea that you were trying to sell me on. I just threw all that shit away and was like, this is what you're really telling me. Like, I think I mentioned that with my ex when I talked about when I broke up with the Beast, when that relationship ended. Like, our agreement was we could do what we wanted, but as far as what's it called, emotional monogamy, we were actual just me and him, like in the relationship part. And then I had reason to believe that he was dating somebody else, like in kind of a relationship with somebody else, which was against our rules. Had he just been somebody else, that would have been fine. And technically, he did a couple of somebody else's and did it for me on Zoom so I could watch it. That's how great that relationship was in that way. But then I ended up finding out he had another, like, boyfriend in San Francisco. And at first, he presented it to me as this guy thinks that he's my boyfriend. And I figured, like, you'll handle that, like, I don't have to say anything about that because we have an agreement and we decided that. So of course, naturally, you'll just make sure that he knows you're not his boyfriend. I didn't say that. That was just what went on in my head. So then later on, I end up finding out through conversation with the Beast himself that this guy a couple weeks later still thinks that he's his boyfriend. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't you have cleared that up? And then he was like trying to do verbal gymnastics. And then at a point he was like, well, I just feel like, the guy was in San Francisco. He was like, I just feel like I have to go to San Francisco and have an in-person conversation with him about it. And I was like, okay, well, you say that he has no reason to believe that he's your boyfriend. But at the same time, you feel that you have to go to San Francisco to clear this up with him in person. So if you have to go all the way to San Francisco to clear up the fact that you're not somebody's boyfriend, there's a good chance that person has a good reason to think that you're their boyfriend. Otherwise, if it were, like, say me, if somebody were to hit me up and be like, let me know that they thought I was their boyfriend, I mean, even right now, I'm not committed to anybody. Like I said, I'm talking to somebody, but I'm not committed to somebody. But even completely single me would just be like, no, we're not anything like that. So I don't know why you would even think that. And I would put that out of their head right away. I wouldn't have to drive to whatever city they're in. I wouldn't have to drive across town. I wouldn't have to leave my front door for that conversation. That could happen right on the phone. That could happen on Facebook Messenger. That could happen in public on Twitter. That could happen through an Instagram picture. It could happen any way it has to happen. I don't have to see them. So what I'm saying is sometimes people will try to be smarter than they should be, and a dumb person like me will be like, nope, this is really what it is. And, you know, I give myself a little too much credit on the dumb part. I'm probably not as dumb as I give my memory is as bad as I say it is, though. Like, that's one thing well, let me not lie about that either. I was, again, going to lie to you guys and say I wish that my memory was better. But really, I don't wish my memory was better. My memory remembers jokes and things that it needs to remember for lessons. So I don't wish my memory was better at all, except for right now here in the studio, there's 2 different hallways. One of them leads to a bathroom. The other one leads to upstairs. I've needed to go upstairs several times. I keep walking down the hallway that's towards the bathroom, and that has gotten on my nerves quite a bit. And that has happened more times than it probably shouldn't happen, or should happen. Ugh, I need to get it together. Did I mention that I also got right before I did this, which I don't really know where people are on smoking or whatever. I'm a here and there guy. You know, I go through long spans where I don't actually smoke, but then sometimes I do. And when I do, it's on and it's on. And I record a lot of my podcasts. Sometimes people will mention my low energy. I got to be honest with you guys, even if I wasn't ever high, I would be kind of a low energy guy. I just don't give a lot, you know. A lot of times juice ain't worth the squeeze, if you ask me. I don't have time to be like amping it up for everybody all day. When you're a comedian and you go to a hotel room like to check in before a show, one of the things that's annoying is like sometimes, you know, well, most of the time the booker ends up renting you the room, and say you're at a club or you're at you're dealing with a booker that uses the same hotel all the time, so you're like, you come up to the desk and you're like, oh, we're the comedians for such and such comedy show, and that's the way your reservation is booked. Then you give your name, you know, but usually that's the way you'll say it, you know. You'll be like, I'm the comedian on whatever show, and people will be like, oh my God, you're so quiet, tell me a joke. This is the person behind the desk, and you're like, can you just check me in? Can you just give me my shitty room card and let me get to my shitty room, please? Like, I don't want to be amped and on for you. I don't want to do jokes for you. I don't want to tell you, well, what's your bit about? What's your skit? What's your skit? Shut up. Get out of my face. I'm not asking you to do extra shit for me. I just get my key card. That's all I need from you. Check me in to this shitty Motel 6 room so I can do this shitty show in the middle of nowhere that technically I'm above skill-wise, but I still got to do it, because when people talk about discrimination, they don't understand the level of discrimination that I've been through. People will not have me on certain shows because they don't think that I can do shows like theirs. They're like, I don't think you can necessarily do a room like mine. Like what? A room full of rednecks? Because that's what your club is, and that's what I perform for regularly in worse circumstances than this. But you still don't trust me because I'm gay. Well, we don't have a Latino night, or maybe we can have you on Cinco de Mayo weekend. Okay, I'm not that kind of not all of us are those kind of and nothing against you, those kind of I know some of those kind of watch and listen to my podcast, but the thing is, you know that I'm not that kind of because you will tell me how much of a coconut I am, which for anybody that doesn't know, brown on the outside, white on the inside, coconut. I am one. That's what they say. I accept it. I'm a coconut. If you think I'm a coconut, I'm a coconut. I will tell you that my favorite food is tripas, though, so I got to be at least a little bit. But, you know, I'm also living a low-carb lifestyle, which I was going to tell you guys this. This is one thing I wanted to tell you. When I mentioned the Chrissy Teigen thing and like, her having to block people and stuff like that, the other day when I got it, this was the thing with the guy with the fight with Jeffree Star. I'm so glad I remembered it. This guy, when I was arguing with him about, because I said the you know, this thing that I told you guys I said to him, which was kind of like, you know, bitchy not really rude. It just was sassy, was what it was. And so he got mad at me and thought that I was being insensitive. And then his defense for me was to say that, you know, for as much as I talk about young kids on my timeline, that I must be like a creep or a pedo, however you want to say it. And I was like, yeah, good try, but I don't talk about kids on my timeline. You know, I just don't. Like, I looked at my timeline just to be like, what's he talking about? I don't even reference kids. There was this thing that I reposted or retweeted where the mom was like trying to feed the kid ice cream, but she was like teasing him and kept pulling it away. And he was like probably 2 years old or something like that. And she kept like, you know, teasing him with the ice cream. And then he just snatched the ice cream off the spoon and ate it. And I thought that was cute and great. And I hope that one day my kid behaves like that, you know, just like stop playing with me and give me that goddamn ice cream. And that's exactly the way he did it. He snatched it so fast and then he just popped it in his mouth. And to me, that kid is a winner in life for the rest of his life. That's the kind of attitude you want to grow up with. And so I retweeted that. But outside of that, I have no kid shit. You know what I mean? And then the next thing he said was, you know, because I responded with something like, good try, but, you know, you're still a loser because you're always begging for money. Because I looked at his timeline too. And it was just him begging money, doing reposts for people that are like, you know, I'm giving away $500 to the next person that retweets it, or, you know, to lucky winners that retweet this. And I'll admit, I've done a couple of those before just because I was like, let me see if I could win this $500. But it never filled up my timeline. And it's probably been, when I say a couple, I mean like maybe I've done that twice. And like I said, but this guy, it was nothing but that, and also nothing but him trying to get people to feel bad for him, like sob story type of shit. And I was just like, you know, kind of being a dick about that. So then he said, you know, for as much as you talk about pizza, like implying that some way, like I was a Pizzagate guy. And it's like, I live a low carb lifestyle. That doesn't even make sense. Like, if I were to post about pizza all the time, everybody that knows me would be like, this guy's definitely kids, because we all know he doesn't eat pizza. He's turned down pizza at every party we've had. Like, I'm notorious for turning down pizza. I have been asked the words, you're not going to have any pizza, more times than you can ever imagine in your life. So if I were posting about pizza, my friends would be like, he's definitely kids. But the one time I did post about pizza was in my story, and it was an actual pizza, like an actual slice of pizza that I was about to eat, and it was Costco pizza. And if the elites are with Costco pizza, you better believe that they're not kids, they're actually eating pizza, because you don't go to Costco to kids. Everybody knows you order kids in on Wayfair. Wayfair is the DoorDash of pedophilia. How would you say that? Well, whatever. You know, you guys are going to have to stop being so hard on me. Like, I mess up every once in a while. I say things a way that you shouldn't say them, but I don't really know what everybody wants from me anymore, you know? So I just give people whatever I feel like giving them. That's what you need to do. You know, a lot of you are in the same position, and I know for some of you, I am a life coach. Sad as it is, some of you look up to me. Some of you actually look at me and like, this guy has it together. I question your sanity, but I'm not going to deny you the advice that you want. I will tell you that those are words to live by. When you don't know what to give people, just give them whatever the you want. Because really, at the end of the day, these motherfuckers don't matter anyway. Like, that's the way I talk. That's why I do what I do. That's why I've decided I'm quitting comedy after a year. I think July 17th is technically the day that I'm supposed to quit. So, you know, something either happens outside of the comedy space, here at Vegas Virtual Studios, or maybe even in my dining room. Wherever it happens, it just happens, and then I bail out on this road life, you know? I mean, like, I'm going to tell you guys what my life plan is. I want to get married, squeeze out at least one puppy, and call it a day. Bijou's gonna get pregnant. I gotta get Bijou pregnant sometime. I know that's gotta happen because she wants to be a mother. I asked her about it when she was very young. I don't know if I ever told you guys that story before, but technically I took Bijou to get fixed. I got all the way to the vet's office. I dropped her off. I walked out. Then I paced back and forth for 10 minutes in the parking lot. And then I cried a little bit. And, because I had asked her before, before I even, and I know that it probably sounds weird that I talk to my dog this way, but she was just really tender with her little Mr. Bill, and she still licks him like her friend, and it's the cutest thing in the world to me. She doesn't do it all the time, not nearly as much as I'd like, but I catch her being tender with him a lot. And she's been doing that since she was a little puppy, and that's one of the first toys I ever got for her. So one day, I grabbed her, and I was talking to her, and I asked her if she wanted to be a mommy. And if you don't know, in me and Bijou language, when she licks me, that means yes. And she started really licking me. And then I asked her if she wanted to get fixed, and she did not look happy at all. It wasn't that same energy. Suddenly she was like, not really feeling that. And so I remembered that while I was in the parking lot of the vet's office, and then I cried a little bit, and then I called the vet, and I said, I don't want you to fix my dog after all. And they were like, well, we already put her out, she's already on the anesthesia. And they were like, but she does have those 4 extra teeth because, she had little extra teeth. And they were like, we could take those out while she's under the anesthesia because you still have to pay for the anesthesia. And I felt like they were lying to me, but I wasn't in the mood to argue. Plus, to pay that money to keep my little dog intact was worth it for me. So I just said, yeah, just go ahead and take those teeth out. And because those teeth were going to need to come out anyhow. And so they took those teeth out for her, and then I got her, and she has been bleeding everywhere ever since. But I just put her little chonies on her little diaper, so she doesn't get blood anywhere. And she still has to have babies, like 1 litter. That's all I want is 1 litter. And it's partly for selfish reasons. Bijou's 7 now, which, they say up until like 9, I think I read, that they're still good to have their puppies, but you don't want to push it past that. So by the next heat cycle, which will be when she's 7.5, I think I'm going to get her and then she's going to have some little puppies for me. And then somewhere in there, I'll end up finding somebody that I actually want to be with, because it's not about trying to force it, and I'm definitely not just looking for anybody. I am kind of picky in my old age, which never mind that happy birthday message I put up for myself the other day, which was me being silly. I went to a friend's birthday party, and it was their 33rd birthday, and I put, I'm finally ready to reveal my real age, and there were the balloons that said 33 behind me, and I figured my fans, being the way they are, would all roast me. I mean, my Facebook is full of comedy fans and friends, and I figured everybody would roast me and be like, bitch, you are not 33. Stop lying. You are 27, because everybody knows that I'm 27. So I thought that everybody was going to roast me for saying I was 33, and instead a bunch of people were like, happy birthday, and and it was very sincere. It was very nice, and now I feel like a fraud because people are thinking I'm 33 when I'm 27. I mean, I don't turn 28 until at least 5 years from now. It makes no sense, the way people deal with me. But I know that in my old age, I'm beginning to feel like I'm in a place to actually be with somebody and be right in a relationship. I realized where I went wrong in my engagement. I had, like I said, I've been honest about this before too. I've cheated on every relationship I've ever been in. So when you've cheated on every relationship you've ever been in, and then you're with somebody, and then the only thing you're thinking about is that being a good boyfriend or being a good partner is not cheating, and that's where you set the bar, but then maybe you don't pay attention to some of the other things, like their thoughts, emotions, and feelings, which I wasn't completely insensitive to, but I gotta admit, I was kind of a selfish person for a lot of my life, and I'm just now really learning to not, but also being in show business in general, if that's what you want to call what I do. Some people say, I don't know, unconfirmed rumor as far as I go, But if you're going to be in show business, you do have to be somewhat selfish and just think about yourself all the time. You think Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt broke up over nothing? No, they both had lives and they both were selfish people because they were making millions and millions of dollars, and I haven't gotten to the point where I'm making millions and millions of dollars. So technically I should still be kind of selfish, but I'm starting to feel more relationship minded. So I will be picky about what I'm actually with, but that's more the way my thinking is going. And I've made no secret of the fact that I do want to have one child. I mean, like, I've felt like that for most of my life. I always knew that I wanted to be a dad. But, it's expensive when you're gay. Even if you go through like a family member and have, say, your partner impregnate a family member, you have to pay for that family member to be out of work. You have to pay for that, which is the way that I personally would like to do it. I would like to have one of the women in my family, be it a niece, be it a sister, whatever it has to be, actually, do artificial insemination with whoever my partner is, and then, that way the baby's still part my genes and then my partner's genes. Or if they had a sibling, but at that point, why pay for the insemination? Because to tell you the truth, to get a baby, I'd dick a bitch down. I don't care if it's my partner's sister or cousin or whatever it has to be. That bitch would get because I need a baby and I need one in the least expensive way possible. So if I could cut out the fucking in vitro part and just this bitch direct deposit of the way we're going, that's all I have to say on that. So let's not ever act surprised if just some relative of somebody I'm with ends up pregnant out of nowhere and I'm like, we're having a baby. You'll be like, that bitch got by Ty Rivera. Have that bitch calling me daddy just like that motherfucker did the other day. But yeah, so that's what's happening here, and I don't know, this guy I'm talking to is cool or whatever, but I'm not thinking like I'm gonna marry him. But I definitely will him a few more times and hang out with him until he gets tired of my personality, because I'm a lot, I know that I'm a lot. I don't feel like I'm the easiest person in the world, but I get easier. I don't think I like that shot, but we did it. We did that. Anyway, what else did I want to talk about before I get out of here? Because, we only have so much time on this earth, and I only plan to spend so much of it podcasting. I mean, I make this show for an hour, and I try to give you that just so you don't feel like I wasted your time, so you feel like, okay, well, Ty at least talked to me a little bit. I know some of you think of me as your big sister, and I'm willing to be that, but I can only be that for an hour a week, and then you're on your own. Still setting up the Patreon, if you guys are wondering what's going on about that. I just want to make sure that I have enough content so that everybody knows this is an actual thing. I would rather wait another week or so and actually have enough stuff, enough of a catalog on there where at least you can say he's taking this seriously, he's offering a service. Because one thing I'm not trying to do is be an online beggar, and nothing against the online beggars I know and the online beggars that watch this show, but it's just not what I want to be. Every once in a while I'll post a actual show, or an actual set, and I'll tell people you can, Venmo me or Cash App me money for that, and that I have no problem with, because it's not begging at all. If you like the show, if you enjoy what I do, then help support it, that's one thing I would say. And the same with Unbothered by Ty Rivera, Venmo, Ty Rivera-comedy, and then on Cash App it is the little $sign and then Ty Rivera. But if you guys like this, sending me a couple bucks wouldn't hurt anything. I mean, this weed doesn't grow on trees. Get it? Because it's a plant. But yeah, if you guys want to make sure that I stay plenty high for these, then a couple dollars wouldn't hurt anything. If you guys enjoy watching my cheat days happen on Instagram, those aren't free. I know I spent a lot of money on cheat day. I had to slow myself down on cheat day at one point because I realized, when you're spending 50 or $60 on fast food and junk food and corn dogs and the kind of some of the cheat days that I used to have back in the day, it really does get ridiculous. And also, the other reason I stopped spending a lot of money on cheat days, even though cheat days still do cost a couple dollars, was because I realized at a point I was dumb for even spending that money on food. Because like almost anything that I like to eat, I can make. You know, like the other night I made these, and they were technically pretty healthy, but they were these burritos that I made, and they tasted just like Taco Bell burritos. And I'm not even joking a little bit. I mean, like, and all I did was, it was a combination of using, because they tasted like a burrito supreme, which is my favorite. I always get the number one, which is the burrito supreme, taco supreme, and then the drink. And I get the taco supreme as a Doritos Locos. That's what I do, if you must know. Yeah, so I use Greek yogurt and I use El Pato sauce, and for some reason that combination, and cheese, you know, and stuff like that, but that combination made it taste just like a burrito supreme. So why would I pay too much for a burrito supreme when I could pay a fraction of the cost and have 4 or 5 burrito supremes if I want to? I don't have to just stick to, like, you know, only buying a couple. I could do as many as I want to. Same with like a lot of food, you know, I can get it exactly the way I want it. Don't have to deal with wearing masks. Don't have to deal with the bitchy server, which bitchy servers have a lot of nerve, and right now they're getting their punishment, not getting their unemployment. Just playing. I love my server friends. I have a lot of server friends, but you know, some of these not do shit bitches will give people a hard time about very small things, and a person like me gets treated like shit in the first place because I drink water, because I'm always watching what I eat. So if I go into your restaurant, I will ask for a water. Servers think that this is a cheap thing to do. They think that this is the signal or the sign of a cheap person. And it may be in a lot of cases, but what you have to understand about me, Ty Rivera, which anybody who's ever gone out to dinner with me or gone to anything with me, or even been a server that I've dealt with or a bartender in the places I go, knows that I actually do tip, and especially tip well during this time. Even before this time, I've always been a really good tipper, because I don't know if you guys knew this part, but in my younger years, I lived in Las Vegas when I was just learning about everything. And everything here at that time, and I'm sure now the same kind of thing, but I'm just not in those circles anymore, like running the streets like I used to be. But everything just ran off tips, you know? So the better tipper you were, the better service you were going to get. Like, that's what pisses me off sometimes now. Like, you'll tip really well, and the bartender will still take forever to get to you. And it's like, bitch, that's why I over-tip you. Is it so you remember my face, give me what I need, be quick about it, because I'm going to over-tip you again. I'm not one of the people that'll tip you once and then be like, we're good for the night. No. One time I spent $120 at an open bar. That was all in tips. And that was because that bartender was making sure I got my Patron. And I was drinking with friends, and it was open bar, you know what I mean? But like, the main thing is, open bar is a feeding frenzy. So, you know, all these people are trying to get the bartender's attention, and all I did was over-tip the whole time. I got so up that night, and the next day I had to fly to Atlanta. I was in New York that night. That was the night that I shot live at Gotham, and I'm sure those bartenders were appreciative to me, because a lot of people, when they hear open bar, or they hear something's free, they really think open bar and that it's free, and they don't tip anything, you know. And so, and some people would say I'm stupid for spending $120 at an open bar, but the truth is, I don't regret spending that money even a little bit. And the next day, I didn't feel even a little bit off about spending that money. 1, because that bartender was doing his job, and 2, because that night, I really did need to get those drinks quickly, because I was trying to have a good time with my friends. And so I don't want to be standing at a bar all night waiting to get drinks. No, I'm going to speed this shit up and make sure that it happens the way it's supposed to happen. So, you know, that's another reason that I don't really mind, like, you know, putting out a Patreon and not feeling like a beggar at all, because I will give you an actual service. You will be the person to me, whether you pay, because there's going to be $5, $10, and $20, and that'll be for the month, and I'll be kicking out lots of extra content and stuff like that. But you will, no matter which tier you go with, you're going to get as much content as you should get, because I don't like cheating people. Like, that's one thing I don't do. Like, I'm snotty, I'm bitchy, I'm not the most customer service oriented. That would be true. But even that's not true, because this one lady got a free CD from me because she said I ignored her husband, And she was like, my husband was such a fan, and then when you did the meet and greet after the show, you would not pay attention to him, and you would not. And I was just like, bitch, that doesn't even sound like me, because if your husband had some money out or wanted to buy a CD, I definitely would have taken care of him, but I didn't say it that way. Instead was like, oh, I'm sorry, I must not have noticed him. But I know there was no true this happening. This bitch was just being a Karen, and this was before the actual Karen days, you know, when they called them Karens. But this bitch gave me this sob story and told me how mean I was and stuff like that. And I didn't want to be an asshole on the off chance that I hadn't noticed her husband, which I know wasn't true. But I still was like, I'm so sorry. Please give me your address, and I will make sure that your husband gets a signed copy of my CD, and I'm so sorry. But never heard from that bitch again, or her husband for that matter. Who knows? Maybe she didn't even have a husband. Maybe she has a husband in her head. I just watched Fight Club last night. Her husband could be Tyler Durden, and just another facet of her personality that's trying to blow up credit card buildings so that we all end up at zero again. I don't know shit about shit, really. I already told you guys I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't know how many times I have to say that on one episode for it to sink in for you dumb motherfuckers. I'm beginning to think you guys are dumb as I am. That's what I'm really starting to think. And you know what? We're almost done with our time here, so let's just cut it short 3 minutes early since you guys clearly don't know how to act. Everybody stay unbothered.